Today, I'll be regrading every top 10 pick from this past NFL draft almost 1 year later, starting with the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. Williams' original grade was an A-. He finished the season with 3,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. He definitely showed some upside, but crumbled a lot in close games, which some blame goes to coaching problems within the Bears organization. So I'm going to give him a B grade. Next up is Jaden Daniels, and his original grade was an A. Daniels threw for 3,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, while rushing for 737 yards and 6 touchdowns. Daniels started the year extremely well, but slowed down towards the end of the season. The biggest factor in this new grading is the fact that he helped change the Commanders' record from 4-13 last year to 10-5 this year. So I'm going to give him an A+. Next up is number 3 overall Drake Maye. His original grade was a B. Maye threw for a total of 2,200 yards and 14 touchdowns, with 10 interceptions, leading the Patriots to a 3-13 record so far. The Patriots offense struggled to do much all season, with Drake Maye under center. And Jerod Mayo has a lot of decisions to make of whether or not Drake Maye is a man for New England. I'm going to give him a C- grade. Next up is Marvin Harrison, whose original grade was a B+. Maserati Marv ended up with 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, with 4.2 yards per reception. Again, Harrison showed a lot of upside, but overall did not get a whole ton of targets, with only 51 targets on the season. Looking at just the overall stats, Marvin is a middle-of-the-pack receiver, but the most receptions he had in a game is 6 receptions. And in that game, he had 110 yards. I think if he gets some more reception, he could be a top 10 receiver in the league one day. So I'm going to give him an A. Right tackle Joe Alt, the number 5 pick, is next. His grade was a B. Alt allowed a total of 6 sacks this season and famously faced one of the best defensive ends in the league, Max Crosby, and didn't allow him to get any quarterback pressures. And that was in his first game of the season. I'm going to give him an A final grade. Next is wide receiver Malik Neighbors, whose original grade was an A+. This season, Neighbors caught 97 passes for 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. The most impressive part about these stats is that they came with Neighbors being thrown to from 4 different quarterbacks throughout this season. But I really think that if he finds the right quarterback and keeps improving, he could be a top 5 receiver in the NFL. His final grade is an A. Another right tackle, J.C. Latham, is the next, and his first grade was a B+. He had very similar stats to Joe Alt, with 6 sacks given up on the season. His Tennessee Titans could not do much on the season with only 3 wins, but in the future, I see him as being one of the best tackles in the league. For that reason, I'm going to give him an A-. Next is one of the most interesting picks of the draft, quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Penix's original grade was a B-, and at the time of this recording, he has only started 1 game this season, while mainly being the backup to Kirk Cousins. But it seems like he's the new man for the Falcons, leading them to a win last week against the Giants, throwing for 202 yards and an interception. I'm excited to see if he can help the Falcons clinch the division, and if so, then what he can do in the playoffs. Since he hasn't played much, I'm only going to bring him up to a B. Next is the 3rd wide receiver in the top 10, Rome Odunze, whose original grade was a B+. Odunze hasn't done a whole lot this season, with only 716 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the difference between him and the other wide receivers in the top 10 is that he is the 3rd receiver in Chicago, with the other 2 receivers being DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. But the good news is that Keenan Allen is now 32 and DJ Moore is 28, meaning Rome Odunze is looking like the future of receiving for the Bears. I'm going to keep him at a B+, but I'm definitely looking forward to see what he can do in the seasons to come. The final player I'm regrading is quarterback J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy's original grade was a C-, and he started the year by getting injured before he could play any games. Sam Darnold ended up taking over the quarterback position and had his best season ever, throwing for 4,000 yards and 32 touchdowns with 11 interceptions. It doesn't look like J.J. McCarthy will end up taking his spot back next season, so I'm going to downgrade him to a D. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time on the 2 and 6 podcast.